name is Shelby, and I have a guest with me, my husband Anthony. Oh, it's late at night. We're tired. Um, but yeah, so if you clicked on today's video, you'll already know by the title. We're going to be talking about friendships today. And this is something that I have been thinking about quite a lot today. And I just felt the need to talk about it and have a conversation. So that's what we're going to do. And I brought this guy in to talk with me about it because I really appreciate his opinions and his thoughts. And I think he's going to have some really good insight on friendships as well.
I was excited when you told me that this is what we were going to be talking about. I think it's really relevant for me as well right now to just discuss friends and the whole entire thing. So
Yeah. I mean, to also just give a little backstory right now, I feel like I'm in a weird place, or I have been in the last few years, where I really struggled with friendships and finding friendships that are meaningful and something that I feel is sustainable. Um, and that's not all put on that other person's shoulders. I know that I have to take accountability for certain things as well. But yeah, just been doing a lot of thinking, and I've been having a particular instance without giving away too much personal information. That
hmm
just kind of made me think about friendships a little bit more and the values of it and all that good stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and kick things off. I have a couple of different questions that I feel that we can kind of banter off of each other
sweet.
to kind of discuss. So let's just get right into it. So with my first question, what is a healthy friendship look like to you?
Uh, um, I don't even know where I begin with this. I think for me, it starts with communication. Um, Especially when you're looking to build some sort of a support system, I guess is what I'm looking to say.
Mm-hmm.
Just I know from my experience, I give a lot as far as being attentive to people that I care about.
Yes.
And for me, if it's not reciprocated, I can find myself being hurt behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just as simple as listening and letting another person be heard. So I guess that's probably my number one, just having someone in your life that's willing to listen and hear you and your struggles or
Yeah.
good parts about your life.
And be
But
supportive.
yeah, I think number one would be listening.
Okay, that's a good
And
one. I guess I never thought about it in terms of that, but that's like a really important factor in any type of relationship, right? Like I feel like
hmm
you always need, in order to have a good relationship, you need to have someone that is good at listening and good communication, and that otherwise, if you don't have it, you don't really have a whole lot to go off of.
100%.
And like I feel for me, based off of what I'm learning through the situations that I've been going through, I feel for me you know what makes something healthy to me is that open line of communication, and just knowing that I can talk to you without fearing that you're going to gaslight me, or you're going to take offense to everything I'm saying, because it's not coming from a bad place. If you say that we're friends, I'm never going to do something to hurt you,
hmm
even if it's not what you want to hear. My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear. I want to be that friend and make sure that I give you what I think is the right advice, or the things that you think you need to hear at the time. It's not always going to be what you want, um, but not everybody is receptive to that, and I'm starting to learn that myself. So,
Yeah, it's just especially now. I feel like people are more focused on finding things that are going to make them happy, but through that, it feels like a lot of people want to stay in a happy state consistently.
yeah, yeah,
And that's just not how life works. I don't create life or anything like
mm-hmm,
that. But it's like there's a reason you go through highs and lows. But it's like
mm-hmm,
you also have to be willing to hear other aspects of it because that's how you develop and you grow as a person. So
yeah,
it's like you want people in your life that are going to give you sometimes the hard aspects, the things that you don't want to hear, or else through that you could, or neglecting that you could be stunting your own growth.
100%. I feel like, especially in today's world, world, um, with the technology that we have access to all the time, social media, short form content, everything has made it so our attention spans are non existent. We don't have attention spans for anything anymore. And so it's like, I find for myself, even when I go to hang out with certain people,
Mhm.
when I start to speak, all of a sudden now they're distracted by something and they're no longer paying attention. So it's just, it's very, 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 I guess you have to prioritize certain things, right? Because it does also come down to, for me, like, if I care about you as a friend and I want to be a good friend to you, then I'm going to prioritize you. And so I'm going to be more aware of what I'm doing. But everybody doesn't really think that way.
Right.
So I have to also keep that in mind. So, yeah, I like where this conversation is going. Actually, I kind of thought about this earlier. I don't know if this was like this for you, but I was thinking about like when you're a little kid and you make friends
Mhm.
as a kid. I felt like it was so much easier to make friends when you were younger because, and this isn't true for every instance, but I feel like as a kid you're not as judgmental. It's more of a, oh, you have that toy. It's really cool. Can I play with it? Can I play with you? Cool. Now you're my new best friend. Like I felt like it was just very easy to make friends.
Mhm.
And then as I got into like my teens and my 20s, it was more of like a popularity contest. How many friends can I have? If I have more friends, that's better.
Mhm.
And now that I'm older, I'm 31. Now that I'm older, I feel like it's more of quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like I want to have more good friends, like good batches of friends, than having a bunch of bad friends.
Right.
So,
I see. I never experienced that. I've always, from like the jump, just been like small group people that seem quality,
mm-hmm,
and that's why like growing up for me, like leaning on friends was always so big when I, especially when I was going through family things. Like
mm-hmm.
friends always came in handy for me, just because I was like, okay, I'm going to select like four people, but they're going to be an amazing group of people.
And
And
you
like,
know they've got your back.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really nice.
Now, I mean, it. I would say though later on, like maybe even now in life, I don't consider everyone a friend, but I have more people that surround me,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess deciphering who's worth
Who's
having in my
worthy?
life is a little bit harder now than it's ever been
Mm-hmm.
before. Um, so yeah.
Let's move on to the next question. All right, so we're gonna jump right into the next question, and that is: have you ever experienced a toxic friendship? Do you know what classifies as like having like a toxic friend?
I I think I do. What do you think qualifies as that?
I mean, I could tell. So a
You never
couple of key,
Googled up?
so a couple of key factors when it comes to like toxic friends, and I think this is also just like toxic behavior in general.
Mm-hmm.
You can apply this to however you want to apply it to, but they make you feel exhausted, which I have definitely experienced. Um, they are frequently ignoring your boundaries. They're cruel or unkind. They gossip about you. They make you feel exhausted. They take advantage of you or others.
Mm. I don't think I've ever experienced that.
And you know, I'm not surprised because I don't think you would ever allow someone to do that.
Yeah. I'm very quick to kind of like decipher. So
Mm-hmm.
like I can truthfully say I don't think I've ever experienced a toxic friendship. I've had friendships that have faded away for one reason or not, but it's not because that person was like
Toxic
toxic.
or
It's
they
like
were
we
just
grew
really
apart.
bad. Yeah, it
Uh-huh.
was just like a natural progression that you kind of just drifted apart for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Because you know me, I don't have patience for things like that. It's like
Yeah,
if you're gonna be doing talking behind my back or
see ya.
starting nonsense, like
Yeah,
bye, yeah.
yeah. I feel like I'm trying to get better at that myself because for one, I feel like I'm a very forgiving person. I give people a lot of chances.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also just want to believe in the best in people, almost to a point where it's to a fault, because I keep thinking that it's gonna get better and I keep giving them chances, but it's like how many more times are you gonna keep giving them that chance when they've shown you time and time again that this is who they are?
Right.
Um, and I've had to learn that through the last couple of friendships that I've been through. I've had, two really close friends that I've lost over the years, and who knows, potentially could lose another at this point. You never
Mm-hmm.
really know where life is going, but it's just kind of like you have to sit back and reevaluate yourself and what you're willing to put up with. And I also think it's like, are they offering anything in your life at this point? Not that they need to be giving you something, but like, is it worth me putting up with what I'm putting up with if I'm not getting anything back from it? So I don't know.
It makes you. It can tend to make you feel like you're being used in a sense.
And I think that's it for me right
Mhm.
now. I'm really struggling with, it's also a moral thing for me. Like, I can't sit back and watch you be this horrible person and me not really say anything, and then allow you to be that horrible person to me as well. I don't know. It's just, I will say I've experienced some of these traits with a previous friendship that actually ended. I want to say it's been maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and I don't even remember at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it might
but
be a little long. 2 years definitely.
but I would say that this person left me feeling exhausted, and there were, I mean, hanging out with this person would physically drain me. And I would also get to a point where I was emotionally distraught a lot of the times because I was allowing this person to get into my head and make me believe that I'm actually being a really bad person. When in reality, my body and my mind was just trying to protect myself because I knew I just couldn't give what this person wanted.
That person drained me, and I wasn't their friend.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. I mean, to be honest, who knows where this person is to this day? I wish them nothing but the best, but I do not miss you. Bye
Yeah.
bye. Yeah. Anyways, so moving into the next question that I've got here is: do you have any advice on how to make lasting friendships?
Hmm. I think you have to treat a friendship,
Mm-hmm.
which I try to do that with a lot of my friendships now,
Mm-hmm.
um, like a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, yes, it is, but I think sometimes
You
it's
have to
not.
nurture it like it
Yeah,
is.
nurture. Yeah, that's nurture it like it's an actual relationship. I think you do have to do things that are um, just kind gestures,
Making time for each other,
making.
checking in on
Uh
each
huh.
other, doing things like, if you go to the store and you know like this person really likes this and you're thinking of them, like, if you can pick it up and like surprise them with it, like little
Right.
things like that.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking. Um, yeah, pretty much. You just have to treat it in that same way so that people could know that like you care about them. It's just that simple. I
It's really about valuing the
think.
person
Mm-hmm.
in all honesty, and I think that that's all anybody truly wants. I know for me that's probably my biggest issue with a lot of these friendships is I've never really felt like I was being valued. I felt like they felt that they had control. And what's crazy is, if you think that, then you don't really know me, because I may be letting you think that you have the control, but ultimately the decision is mine. And now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
here telling you see you later, you're acting confused.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Yeah, that's always really funny. People get confused about that. I'm gonna be honest. I probably have one or two people in my life right now that I'm kind of like,
mhm,
you're not reciprocating right now, and like I don't want you to think that you're in control of
yeah,
anything right now. Like it's not even like a I want to be in control. It's like if you could just reciprocate and show me that you care, like because I feel like I'm showing you that I care.
yeah.
So.
So it's like, it's a give and take. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just keep taking and taking and taking. The
Mm-hmm.
pot has to get refilled in order for me to keep giving to you.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just don't get that. Some
Yeah.
people are very much just about themselves, and they're not thinking about the bigger picture or how their actions are necessarily affecting someone else, or ultimately they just don't even care how it's affecting somebody else, and that's a whole nother situation, another problem, and if you're dealing with that, then you need to get out
Right.
of it. But yeah, I think you kind of like hit the nail on the head with that. Like, it, I don't know, friendships are a very hard thing to navigate, but you definitely need to stand up for yourself. I think another thing as well is like just setting proper boundaries. And this isn't something that I ever really understood or knew much about. Um, and I was having a conversation with my therapist a couple of sessions ago about this because it's been an ongoing thing with this friend.
Mm-hmm.
And basically said like it's funny, but not until now, like not until I started speaking with her, I was like, I just realized I've never set any boundaries for anything, and she's clearly crossing the lines of these boundaries, and in that case, it's not necessarily that person's fault because
Right.
I
Right.
never
Right.
put those boundaries in place. So how will they know when they're crossing the line? They're only going to know once they now crossed it, and that's unfair for me to necessarily hold that over their heads or hold them accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is. I think another key thing is just making sure that you understand what your own personal boundaries are, and making sure you put those in place and speak about those so that they know what those boundaries are. And when they start to cross them, well, then you know that this is a situation that we need to reevaluate.
I think also being clear on that it's not about like blaming them or blaming yourself, especially if we're talking about boundaries. Even
Mhm.
if you didn't set the boundaries, right?
Mhm.
You want to address it as soon as it becomes apparent because you don't want to end up putting yourself in the blame or making yourself the bad guy
Mhm.
in inadvertently giving them like a scapegoat
Mhm.
or putting yourself in the position where it's like you're to blame for the state of your
And I
friendship.
think that's what I've done many, many times. And I can look back and realize, like, okay, yeah, like, how can I sit here and get upset about it if I don't speak about it?
Right.
But now, if I've spoken to you about it and you keep doing it, now I've got a problem. And this is kind of where my head is at. There are some things that I've made very vocally clear that is bothersome to me, but you still continue to do it. And now, when we talk about it, you have an attitude about it. So now you are actually disrespecting me and crossing my boundaries because you know that the boundary exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that you have to kind of look out for, but don't put so much pressure on it. Like, just know what your boundaries are, make those clear, have an open communication about them. Also, like, if someone is crossing your boundaries, kind of like you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
take some time to think about it. I know me personally, I'm a very emotional person, so my responses are very emotional. And I can say a lot of things, but it's not necessarily what I want to be saying. I'm just acting pure off emotion.
Right.
So take some time to even, you're great at this, I'm not, but take time to cool off. Maybe even if you need to write that person a letter that you never send them, to get those thoughts out so that you can then actually articulate what you're really trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I like
so
to
it
have
comes
just
across
like,
better.
uh-huh. I like to just have out loud conversations with myself
Yeah,
in
you do.
regards for like everything.
He does.
I just, yeah, it just creates that perspective. It gets the thoughts out of your head. It'll help with your mood. So just even having that conversation out loud is going to like really benefit
I
the
think
conversation
I
or
think
the,
whatever way you like prefer to do it, whether you talk to yourself out loud, write it down, whatever it is,
yeah.
I think there's something so important about it because otherwise you let it sit and it just keeps like stewing there, and that's a big thing for me is I will sit there and let it stew until I've reached my boiling point, and now I'm at the point where I'm exploding,
Mm,
and you don't want to get to that point,
right.
especially if for one, like you are having any issues with friends. If it's a friendship that's worth keeping, you don't want it to get to that point. So you want to be able to really take your time and think about it and even truly understand why you are upset. Because sometimes I know for me, I'm just not even really thinking about why I'm upset.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just triggering me now, and now we're gonna just have a conversation about everything, and
Mm-hmm.
why I don't even know what the point of the conversation
Right, and asking yourself the
was.
deeper question.
Yeah. So okay. So oh my gosh, my eyes are so itchy. I think
Right
there's a
now.
lot of
Mm-hmm.
dust in the air or something. I apologize, but so got two more questions. I'm
Okay.
actually really enjoying this conversation. It's giving me a lot to also kind of think about myself.
Yeah.
But so my next one is, what do you value most in friendship?
You know, I think it's, I don't even know how to put this, but I think that there's one thing in particular.
Okay.
One, like I talked about earlier, someone who listens.
Yeah.
But I think someone that I have the ability to not necessarily always be in each other's face.
Mm-hmm.
When we are around each other, it can spark up again, just like that.
I have a friendship like that, and you know this, friend. Nick.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
This is my, honestly, like my childhood best friend, and we could be apart for years
Mm-hmm.
and barely talk to each other. And the second we get back together, it's like it's like we haven't missed each other whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like we've seen each other every single day. Like it's just the best, and that is a friendship that I just cherish so much, because it's also a friendship that the most, like, how do I even describe this? Our most fun moments are the moments where we are doing not shit. We're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally just hanging out in their room, watching TV, listening to music, talking. We're not doing anything. And that's honestly like what we prefer to do,
Right.
because it really comes down to just spending time with each other. And now we're, by doing that, we're also telling each other that we value each other and we want to be with each other and have conversations and things like that, instead of every time we hang out we're going out to eat. And now we're in a public space where you can get distracted by many different things, and once the meal is over, do we part ways? What do we do from here? Not to say that going out and stuff is bad, because it's not. It's always nice to go out and do things, but I think there's something so beautiful about having friendships like
Mm-hmm. I have a couple like that, and it's all, we're all in the same friend group, so that's always really neat. We could go months without seeing each other, or whatever the case, and
that.
it's
Those
like you
guys
said,
are crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but it's
When
like,
they're together, it's actually, I can't even imagine. Just getting glimpses of you with them individually tells me a lot.
hmm, no, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy that I have friends like that. So,
I'm happy for you too. It's like you said, you don't see them very often, but when you do see them, it's the best time.
yeah,
And you always come home after that having like a really good night. Like the next morning, because normally he goes out and he's out for hours, and I'm not staying up. Come home at like 3 o'clock in the morning if they're having a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. So like the next morning, I'll ask you like how your night was, and you'll just be like, "Oh my gosh," and blah blah blah, and like
mm,
you can just see it on, like, I can see it on his face that he's happy, like he had a genuinely good time. So
mm,
that's nice for sure. Oh, that just made me. Hopefully, I can hang out with my friends. All right, so let's hop into our last question here.
okay.
Would you agree it's good to have friends that are like minded? I feel like we've talked about this quite a bit.
Um, it depends. I personally, I think at this point in my life,
Mhm,
I think before I would have said yes.
mhm,
I think now it's no,
mhm,
leans more no than yes. I think
mhm.
it's a balance. Just so you can get opinions from the other side. And I think that's kind of like one of those things you see, like going back to what you originally said with social media and things like that, or just how society is right now. People find their little pocket and they stay in
Yeah,
their little pocket
yeah.
and they don't entertain what anyone else might have to
Nothing.
say.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm right, you're wrong, and I think it's those type of things
Yeah.
that keep that wheel turning. So I personally, at like this point in my life, for sure, would like to have someone that is not like minded
Hmm.
as I am, and could present different perspectives and viewpoints for me that I just may have not considered. Because sometimes it just simply takes someone making one little statement to like to make you reconsider so many different things as far as like how your perspective on something actually
Hmm.
is at current. So
Yeah. I mean,
if
I
that
would.
makes sense.
It does, and I would agree because when I was coming up with this question, I was thinking about it myself and like how I would kind of answer it, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that you don't necessarily want to surround yourself with friends that are the same as you because you're not getting other perspectives from that. There's nothing wrong with being around people that are like minded, but I think it's good to have a variety of friends and how people respond to things and think about things and hearing those different perspectives is how we grow.
Right.
So I think that's a really good thing to have. What I do think, however, is it's important to understand who you surround yourself with and who you allow into your life. If you know that you want to, and this is something that we've talked about, if you know that you want to be at a certain level, but you've got other friends that are busy worried about doing other things, well, you can't sit there and wonder why you're not getting to where you need to be because you're surrounding yourself with people that are not trying to get to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're just surrounding yourself with things that are not going to be helpful to you reaching your goals. It's not helping you be productive. It's maybe not even good for your mental health. Like there's many things that can take effect to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, that's kind of another thing that I'm trying to reevaluate is whether or not me being around these particular people is right for me at this point because I'm trying so hard to grow from where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be completely honest. I am in such a better place than where I was even 6 months ago. And I don't want someone else to get in the way of my progress or my growth because I have more things that I want to do with my life and myself than to allow someone and where they're at to kind of derail me from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, you could also say that like it's not their fault, and it's not. But like, think about it. The more you surround yourself with people like that, the more you start to think like them. The more you start to do things like them, because that's all you're around. That's all you really know. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think, yeah, pretty much everything I was just saying, and you add a little more on top of that. Just how the people you surround yourself with, and that can impact like your direction and your own personal growth. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly spot on. I think these are the type of things I think about when I make statements like what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's very important to be able to evaluate that deep, and but it's a process.
Yeah.
You learn as you go, and you evaluate different experiences, past experiences, to kind of build out that mold of the type of people that you want in your life.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all the questions I have. But did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think this was a very good conversation. I would say, I guess my last thing I would say is like, what would you say out of all of these questions and things that we've talked about? What was like the one big takeaway for you?
I think for me, it's for one coming to the realization of how I respond to certain things can impact my friendships, but as well as just kind of coming to terms with the things that I think are important and the things that I need. Because again, this goes back to a conversation that I've had with my therapist where I've talked about like relationships with parents and things like that, and where I feel like I'm not because not everybody shows love in the same way. Not everyone receives love the same way. It's like little things like that. And so it's kind of more me trying to figure out what I need from someone
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to communicate that with like the person. So I think that's like probably the biggest takeaway for me. Like I said, communication is key, and without that, like you don't really have a whole lot to go off of, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because I feel like even with us, like we're complete polar opposites. He is completely like analytical and really like processes everything, and I'm just kind of like 50 million different thoughts going a mile a minute, and I just want to have a good time. Like that's it. And I just feel like even with all of that, being together for so long, we've learned how each other kind of like processes things, how we respond to certain things, and we've always tried to take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said in the beginning, he's the type of person like if it's a something that's been bothering him or he's getting to a point where he's not in a good place, he wants time to like separate and kind of sit with his thoughts and think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's your way of trying to figure out is it even worth me getting upset about. But I'm the type of person that's like I need to talk about it now because I need a resolution because right now I'm not sure where we're at. And that's again polar opposites and can be really bad if we don't respect each other's boundaries. So it's, and things like that, it's trying to find a common ground.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that can also tie into like friendships. Yeah.
Good.
What about you?
Just I had something in mind actually.
I talk too much.
No, it's not that. It's just you know me. I have a poor train of thought. I like
Yeah.
it'll go in 2 seconds. Dang, and it was something really good too. Give me a second.
That's okay.
Okay, I think it was just having a better understanding of evaluating what I want out of a friend. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm used to prioritizing like how I can be a good friend to people,
Mm-hmm.
but not
How
realizing
they
what
can
they
be.
can be a good friend to me. So I would say that's probably my
Yeah.
big takeaway from this conversation, just prioritizing that a little bit more.
100%. I think that's all, honestly like what it really boils down to.
Hmm.
So let us know in the comments down below what your guys' takeaway from this video was, and your thoughts as well. I'd love to hear them. And that is all for today's episode. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye bye.